Yo, what's happening guys? Back again for another video. You'll join me at the BIKC National Finals in Warrington. If you've seen my previous BIKC video, you'll have known we managed to take the win at the BIKC Regionals at Trafford. That put us through to the National Finals. Second year in the National Finals, jumping straight into Heat 1. We managed to qualify second for the first heat. We're running the same format as regionals, which is 3 heats, and you have a 4-minute qualifying before each heat, which determines the positions of that heat. And then they add up your points from your heats, and that puts you through to the semi-final. However, luckily for me this year, I was put into Group 2. And if you've seen how the groups were split, you'll have known that Group 2 was very easy. I think there was only like me, Anthony and Mike Allen who were like podium contenders in our group. And then you look at the other group, and off the top of my head I can just name like everyone. You got like Chris Knight, Saul, Harvey Sugden Scott, Aaron Mitchell-Begley, Tom Wilshire, Andre Perehuda, Aaron Mitchell-Begley. I don't know if I've mentioned him twice, but yeah, it was it was quite lucky that I got into Group 2. My goal in this one was just to finish top 2 every race, just so I can take pole position for the semi-final. If I manage the top 2 or even top 3 every race, just because the people in the other group would be fighting quite a bit, I could take pole for the semi-final. And that was the goal for this one. I told Anthony before the race anyway, you know, we don't really need to fight too much, although we are fighting quite a bit here. I was just looking for any move if he left his door open. But yeah, I told him, you know, our goal is just to top 3 every race, and we're basically guaranteed pole for each semi-final. As we are on the last lap here, heading into the last corner, covers off the send there, going across the line. We managed P2 for the first heat. Now going into heat 2, we managed to qualify pole. This one was a pretty simple one. It was basically the opposite of what happened in the first heat. Just defend from Anthony, just like he was defending from me. I don't think he was looking for a big move anyway, he was just playing it smart. If you get a penalty, he's just gonna, you know, it's just gonna ruin your day basically. But yeah, I really enjoyed this format compared to last year's format. It really changed things up quite a bit. I mean, last year you'll just come out of your qualifying session and you've had like the worst kart ever, and you've qualified like 10th, and you know your day's over. But you know, in this format you can just like, even if you qualify first and win your first heat, you know, you're not even getting too excited, because you know you can just get the worst kart ever in your second heat and you can just like qualify last, or not even last, but you could qualify towards the back. So it really mixes things up quite a bit, and I really found it great to watch as well. You know, it was, yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a lot better compared to the old format. You know, one qualifying in an indoor track, just like, there's not really any racing, is there? But here we are on our, I think this is our quickest lap, I'm not sure. Well, this may be the last lap. Going into hairpin 1. Hairpin 2, we were taking it quite tight compared to everyone as we whacked the barrier there, but we kept taking it quite tight compared to everyone, and we were managing to gain a lot of time. Take the win there, give the finger. Now jumping into heat 3, managed to qualify second, so out and away we go. Off the line here, whoever's on the inside gets a better run than us, come out of the corner ahead of us as well, but we managed to keep the position going into hairpin 3. And now, unfortunately, with that little battle there, Anthony's managed to pull like a 10 kart length gap. And we both had pretty good karts in this one. He had kart 5, which Harvey had won in, and I had kart 43, which was pretty good as well. so I thought we would be quite equal in this one. But I managed to put my head down, and after a few laps we managed to catch up to the back of him. Now unfortunately at this point I didn't really know, or well, no one knew at this point, but that incident at the start, I managed to get a penalty for it. The only reason I got a penalty, which is what I was told by the marshals, the only reason I got a penalty was because his team complained, and that made the stewards look at it. And basically, if my penalty had dropped me one position further, their driver would have been on pole for the semi-final. But unlucky for them, my penalty only dropped me to 5th, and I still had enough points to take pole for the semi-final. So I wasn't really too fussed. I didn't really even know I had a penalty. I didn't even get shown like a penalty board or anything. I think they'd literally put on the penalty like last lap or something. I was told as I was coming in the pits, you got a penalty, which I was just quite surprised. But yeah, on the back of Anthony here. See there, I was using my boost quite late. I was using it as your momentum ends as you hit the bottom of the ramp, and I just felt like it'd pick up so much. As we go into the back of him there, I think his car caught out mid-corner, so we kind of go into the back of him. He doesn't really leave any room, hairpin 3, so we can't really send it. So yeah, as the last lap board comes out, looking for a move on him here. He takes it really tight, get a nice run on him here. Can't really send it into any of these corners as it's basically flat. Going up the hill, he still takes it tight. As we skip towards the end of the lap here, we managed to take P2, which was I think P5 after penalties. Now we jump into the semi-final. Now you're about to see Harvey not know how to park a kart on the grid. I don't know how he's parked the kart on the grid 3 times and he still doesn't even know how to park on the grid. It was quite funny. But yeah, now we're mixed up with the other group. So I had Harvey in 2nd, I had Saul in P3, and I think I had it was Tom Wilshire, I don't know, Mike Allen. Oh yeah, it was Mike Allen in P4. So my goal in this one was basically just to survive the first few laps, make sure I'm in 1st, because Harvey is not someone you want to have behind you. And then after that, my goal was just to put in a good lap. I'd spoken to Harvey before the race and I just said to him, you know what, we need to get our heads down, we need to put in a good lap. We'd rather start 1st and 3rd than 2nd and 4th, which is what happened to us last year. Me and Harvey were in a semi-final together last year, and I was 1st and he was 2nd, and he did not want to put a good lap in, and he just started attacking me, quite a bit. So I just defended from him, and I was happy I didn't mind starting 2nd, but it was even worse for him starting 4th. But I just said to him this year, we've learnt on our mistakes, we can just work together and try and put some laps in. So he joined me on my quickest lap here. I don't think it was a pretty clean lap, I'd say. It wasn't, I feel like I could have went like a 10th quicker, but it was a pretty clean lap. Going into hairpin 1, keep it nice and smooth. Hairpin 2, take it quite tight compared to everyone. Get a nice run coming out of hairpin 3, and press the boost quite late as well. Cross the line, I think that was a 52.1, and now we get a red flag, and I was confused at this point. I had realised someone was missing. I couldn't see Saul Gregory, but as we pull up to the grid, he's just there menacingly parked up in kart 36.
Oh my God,
and if people know, kart 36 was an absolute rocket. Like, this kart was unreal. Anybody who had this kart was just basically pole and winning their races. Like, any good driver who had this kart, I think Harvey got like a 51.7 in it, which is almost heavyweight lap record. And then Ross, the night before in practice, got like a 51.8 in it. So it was crazy. But I knew his tyres would be warming up. After a couple laps, he managed to cut down a 1 second gap in like 1 lap, which was insane. He was right on my bumper here. I managed to pull a gap at the start, I think because his tyres were cold, but he caught up to me like instantly. I think he got a 51.9. I think if I wasn't in front of him at this point, he would have like easily got a 51.8 or a 51.7, just because the tyres were in the window now. And it wasn't the fact that he had kart 86 as well, it was also the fact that his kart was fully charged. So as we cut across to the inside quite aggressively there, I think he didn't expect the overspeed he had. Defend hairpin 1, sorry hairpin 2, defend hairpin 3, and he almost gets a switch back there, but come across the line, managed to take the win.
Oh my god, wow. That's insane. What time did he get? Your soul last year.
It had to be a restart.
You're the soul of last year.
Well, you're looking back on that one, isn't it? Yeah, this is
Now I know how it feels for you last year. And that was only a semi-final.
Now jumping into the grand final. Unfortunately, our lap time wasn't good enough for pole. Anthony managed to pip us by about a 10th, I think, I'm sure. But I knew the race was long, I just had to get my head down, get the strategy right, and I could take the win. So, before entering the race, we'd already known who'd have the best chances of taking the win, just because of the karts we had. So, Anthony pulled kart 5 once again, if you remember. I think it was in heat 3 where he had kart 5 and he won it. So, and Harvey also won kart 5. So we knew kart 5 was a pretty good kart. And unfortunately for me, I managed to pull kart 27. And now 27, I didn't know it at the time, but in the heavyweight fleet was one of the slowest karts. I think one of the other drivers told me, and no one in 27 had gotten below 52.4. So I knew I had my work cut out for me, but I wasn't going to let this stop me. I was going to get my head down and go as quick as I could. My goal in this one obviously was to go as long as I could. If a red flag came and we got caught out, you know, that happens, you know, I don't mind. I wasn't too fussed. I hadn't really practiced as much this year, you know. If I got a podium, I got a podium. If I didn't, but I just wanted to show, you know, I had the pace to win it. As you can see, we're just getting dropped by Anthony, especially coming onto the main straight with the boost on. We gained through that first corner, and hairpin 2, we usually take a nice line. Going into hairpin 3, see there, he just drops us again. Skipping on to the next lap. Harvey gets a pretty good move on us here. You can see instantly, you know, I'm not too fussed about that, you know, I'm just saying to him, get his head down. We can work together. I'll happily sit behind you. You can put some good laps in. Because I think at this point, Saul had pitted, and I think Chris Knight had pitted. So I knew they'd be smart and they wouldn't fight too much. Or even if they fought, you know, this would help us, you know, we working together. We shouldn't be fighting right now. So my goal was just to stick with these guys, you know, hopefully catch up with Harv, and you know, maybe we can catch up to Anthony. You see now coming out of the final corner, use our boost. As you see there, Harv is just slowly eking away 2-3 kart lengths, and it's happening everywhere. Coming onto the main straight, going onto the back straight, you know, every point. It was almost impossible to outdrive this kart. I was still doing my best. I think Harv on this day, although he's a bit inconsistent, he was probably over a lap, probably the quickest driver on the day. I think if you look at his times compared to anyone else's in a certain car, it was about 2/10 quicker in almost every car compared to like everyone else who drove it. Over a lap, and he was just rapid. I don't understand how he did it. So obviously he got 51.7 in car 36, which was the Rocket, and somehow in this race got a 51.9 in kart 30, which wasn't even a rapid kart. It was just pretty mid kart. You see there down the straight, I've just been dropped by about 4 kart lengths. There was nothing I could do. I just had to put in some clean laps, and at this point I was lapping quicker than Saul and Chris, who had pitted, which I don't know how. I think we were lapping at a similar pace, and I just put in my quickest lap not long ago. But as you can see now, Harvey's caught up to the back of Anthony. I think Harv should have pitted instantly. It would have helped him a lot, but he decides to stick with Anthony, and Anthony wasn't gonna work together. He was going to defend Harv, so that's a bit unfortunate for Harv. But you can see now they've just dropped me completely. I was driving as smooth as I could. I was tapping a few berries here and there, but you know, the lap times I was putting in were pretty decent, and I somehow managed to get a pretty good time in this car. As we cross the line here, you can see there's a board there, and that is their 10-minute board, which they're shown at 8 minutes. This was unknown to many people at the time, so what they had said on the live stream is that you can see how much time you have left in the race on the car, which clearly you can't see how much time you have left. You only have one way of telling how much time you have left and when you need a pit, and that is the board they give you, and you'll see 10 minutes left on it. And so they've shown that 10-minute board with 8 minutes left, and that's 2 minutes off. And basically what they've done the exact same thing in the lightweight grand final. They showed the board 2 minutes late, and to compensate for that, they added 2 minutes to the time. However, for us, they didn't do the same thing, and they just kept it running as it was. So unfortunate for me, I'd seen that 10-minute board, I've acknowledged it, and I know I just have to put in eight laps and pit, and that'll be the latest moment I can pit. I knew at this point, you know, get my head down. I was just hoping Harvey and Anthony would pit and they'd start fighting. That was my goal, you know. Both of them were bumper to bumper. If they both pit, they'll come out the pits, they'll start fighting, and I've got clean air, and I should come out ahead, you know, theoretically. But unfortunately, not everything goes to plan. And as you may have seen, I came in the pits 30 seconds late, but as you can see, you have no way of telling when you can pit, and they've shown us the board 2 minutes late, so you know, I'm not really too fussed about it anyway. It's ruined the day, you know, for me and Andrew. We both had a decent shot. I think I would have came out in like 4th or 3rd, but as you can see there, Harvey pits and Anthony pits. And now, unknown to many people, because of the whole thing that happened with Ross's kart going 10 seconds quick in the pit lane, what I had seen personally from practicing the night before, in the pit lane, the speed limits on the karts were different. And unknown to many people, Harvey's car, when he pitted, went 4 seconds slower than anyone else's in the pit lane. And whereas he would have came out alongside or even ahead of Anthony, he dropped back to like 10th because his car went 4 seconds slower than anyone else's in the pit lane, and that's basically ruined his day. So that's just a bit unfortunate for Harv. I feel like he was probably one of the quickest drivers of the day, and you know, he deserved at least a podium. There's a few people I feel like deserved at least a podium. Even Ross, they say he got the win taken away from him, but I feel like Anthony deserved the win, and I feel like Ross, it was a bit unfortunate for him because he pulled kart 41, which was one of the slowest karts in the fleet, and he pulled it for the grand final. So you know, it's kind of a similar case to mine. He's got a slow kart, he's got to outdrive it, but it wasn't his fault. The kart went quicker in the pit lane, but then again, the karts aren't supposed to go quicker, so that's why I feel like in the end it was the right decision to do. But yeah, as we're just roaming about here, I'm just going to leave the video here, let it end. Basically, we pit too late, and you know, they just don't let us go out, which is a bit stupid. I thought they'd just give us a penalty for pitting late, but I'd counted the laps, and I had known that, you know, it was basically within 10 minutes, but obviously I didn't know. They're showing the board 2 minutes late. It is what it is, but yeah, I'm not too fussed about it anyway. Wasn't really trying too much in BIKC this year. We've been doing a lot bigger things anyway. and my main focus now is on BRKC in January and the outdoor season next year. We'll see how we get on. But anyway, congratulations to the top 3. Anthony, I feel like he fully deserved it, you know, he was flying all day, done what he had to do. Chris in second, it was a bit of a surprise, but he got a pretty good kart in the final. He played the strategy right, he got the move done on Saul, and he just put the laps in. And then Saul somehow bagging another podium. The maestro of Warrington, or well, the former maestro of Warrington. But yeah, congrats to them guys, and thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.